The subject of burnout for YouTube content creators has actually been trending for some time now, at least a year. And this actually dovetails another conversation. I've made some videos about digital detox, internet addiction, and how it can affect people's productivity to a certain degree. But on the specific topic of the YouTube content creator burnout, I'm here from my off-grid location in Colorado to talk about some of the solutions that I have looked towards to cure the content creator burnout. But let's talk about some of the causes of the burnout and what's going on here. First thing that I want to mention is that I do think that we collectively are affected by certain energies and shifts. A lot of people are familiar with the effects of full moons and whatnot. I think that there's a lot of people that have been going through this sense of feeling that they don't have enough energy or inspiration in their personal lives. There seems to be a resurgence that I'm noticing in people seeking out motivational material to better their own life because they're feeling burnout and drained to a certain degree. And then we can talk about why they're feeling what they're feeling. You know, one of the things that we can talk about here on YouTube is the rapid decline, the intense decline, the fall of the YouTube AdSense, which is the money that content creators earn. And sometimes people are lucky for whatever reason, the algorithm works for them. And other times we end up with situations where people with a lot of subscribers have very few views on their videos because their subscribers are not being notified about those videos. Plus you have the demonetization, and then you have other things regarding YouTube, which I've talked about in the past. I want to keep the video positive and not so much on what YouTube has done. What I am going to say, right, is that with regards to my own personal solution, because it is individual, the solution lies within me. As I've been saying for years, right? The path to the ultimate truth and place of power lies within. Well, the same thing for myself with regards to YouTube. The solution lies within. So obviously I've taken some time off, but I put up some videos recently. One of the ways somebody can cure their burnout, we're going to talk about economics aside, but I want to also get straight to something else. One of the ways someone could cure their burnout from doing YouTube full time, if it's been a while since they've worked a crappy job at a fast food restaurant, that's one way to appreciate what it is that we have here. Because one of the things to appreciate not only is the free element of the service to upload the videos, but also the free manner in which anyone in the Western world can watch our videos. And in some cases, the information that we share is helping people psychologically, spiritually. Perhaps the information that we have is helping them with some other ways. I know what other YouTubers have done for me with regards to inspiration, passion, what other documentary filmmakers, even if I may not even be a fan of them today, for example. I look at people that were early inspirations of mine, including radio. And so this is something that I want to bring up because there's something magical about this that our ancestors didn't have. We've seen many bumps in the road with regards to economics, but there's a whole greater world beyond AdSense and a whole other arena of importance regarding what we share on YouTube and some social media platforms. Even if our privacy has been stolen to a certain degree, there is a benefit that comes from the mindful use of social media and sharing ideas instantaneously that previously, I mean, think about it, 1,000 years ago, how long did it take for certain ideas to spread? And are certain ideas we're spreading at a faster rate with regards to liberty and the journey that some of us are on? And there are many philosophers that are out there regarding the nature of freedom and liberty in today's society. Where is it lacking? You know, where is there this counterfeit version of the land of the free? Where is there room for improvement? And there's a lot of people that I believe are on the spiritual path, even if they may not even be overtly spiritual, by bringing up these concepts of freedom and liberty in their own way. Even if we don't totally agree, they're on the path to a certain degree by saying the things that they feel their truth. They're sharing their truth regarding freedom and liberty. Some people do it for the wrong reasons. Some people are on are using the internet for their own propaganda agenda. We're not going to give that a lot of time today. There's a reason why we see some of that interference. It's like COINTELPRO all over the internet. It's to distract away from the things that are important. So for myself, getting back to my own personal solution. Okay, we talked about some of the issues with the economics. And for someone like myself, we're doing a threat analysis, reporting on world events and news. That can be a drain too when you wake up and you're reporting on what's going on in the headlines and it's negative. It has an effect. That's the spiritual side of myself that I bring into my videos, but I've seen its effect on myself. When you're looking at negative things or responding to negative people and you're starting your day that way instead of creating your day in your own mind to a certain degree, I mean, that's important. And we shouldn't overlook the importance of starting our day with a clear head without it being polluted by major breaking news. I also got to be reminded of how empty and devoid of real content that NPR still is. The quality of the sound of the voices coming to the microphones may be very clear and crisp, as well as the signal, right? But as if I were a food critic at a fancy restaurant, it leaves much to be desired. Okay, it's counterfeit. It has some entertaining elements, the international music, boom, 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 in the afternoon hours. But when you listen to the news reports that come on at 4 o'clock and the news reports that come on at 5 o'clock, and you hear just this continuous left-right paradigm, there's a part of me that's like transported back in time, and it's 2003 again, listening to NPR, and it's like, Bush said this, Trump said this, and the Democrats are coming back with this, and it's the left-right paradigm. And, it was a good reminder that, although not very inspiring, that people are still in that left-right paradigm. That you can turn off the disinformation from the mainstream media on the TV set, and also turn off the internet and all the noise there, and then just turn on, like, trying to listen to something local. Like, I want to hear some local programming, and there'll be a little bit of local programming. By the way, there's fires in various states, fires within hours of here. There's a potential that I may have to evacuate at any time, but let me stay on topic here, and we can come back to that. I don't know where I'd go. Probably just down the hill. I don't know what the situation would be like. I would assume that highways would be closed off for me to get beyond this general area. So I'd have to survive wherever I am, or maybe even dig a hole in the land. But I could tie that topic into this greater topic of YouTube content creator burnout. I went off the grid after years of already being on YouTube. And YouTube helped facilitate that process. And it's going to take longer to write out that process and how it's still in evolution. But there can also be the burnout that comes from, again, isolation from stimulation. I don't mean to sound too metaphysical, talking about electromagnetic fields and other things of a certain nature, but I get into that in other videos. But it's like when we have the opportunity or financial means to travel and do certain things, or to stay in a regular house, for example, where there's certain amenities, that those are considered to be luxuries of life. They do cost money, and I'm on another path of in a way, it seems like I'm forcing myself to adjust to living with less, far less than the average person, while simultaneously believing in myself and my own ability, right, to continue to put out content. Now going into, I'll be 40 years old in just a few years. Well, I may not look it, and I've been doing this for 12 years. I will be 40 years old, and I'm not living a typical lifestyle. And this system and this world tells us that that's what life's all about, is learning a trade and staying with that, and then the benefits that come with that. And there's value. I see that brings others, including some of my viewers and people that have been tradesmen. And then there are paths that some of us have been on since the 2000s with creating our own independent media, or one term I coined, I don't always use it, but it's free media. See a lot of distortion with this term alternative media, but I see value. I wouldn't call myself a reporter, but the independent citizen journalist is an appropriate term. Philosopher is a little bit more accurate, but I'm not just one thing. I've reported on things regarding off the grid that some people appreciate, but it's like, I'm not just one thing. And YouTube allows me the freedom where a radio station and a TV station may not allow me to freely share my ideas. And while it's not easy to talk about a wide, diverse amount of ideas, especially when some of them are randomly demonetized by bots for no reason whatsoever, that creates a bit of frustration. You know, I got a strike on my channel for highlighting the fact that there were certain groups of people that were, in a way, online gang stalking one girl that made a political statement that I personally wouldn't make, but I don't think that she should be gang stalked and threatened and running for her life because of her political statement with the U.S. flag. You know, and we live in a world where the strikes and rules and regulations regarding YouTube policies, it's just not fair. So there is a low battery issue. Okay, and we are back. The camera died because its batteries were drained. It needed to be charged just like a human being. So we are back, both the camera and myself. And so I just want to recap and then get back to the main point. You know, we're not just talking about YouTube content creator burnout, something that I've experienced as well, but burnout regarding our life choices, where we choose to live, where we're working. I'm also going to bring up the point that we're going into a deep solar minimum. And for people that have followed my work or have a light interest in space weather, they might already know that when the sun is more active, we are more active. When the sun is less active, we are less active. There is a as above, so below connection. And so there is a common thread throughout the idea of burnout, whatever the profession or whatever the interest. So with regards to rekindling a passion for something that is very central to our life purpose, there's certain things that we may want to look at. So you could be a YouTuber and benefit from some of my advice, or you could be someone that just simply looking for motivation to reboost or reset your energy or your focus or your passion. So these are some of the things that I think help. Disconnecting completely, for example, from the activity. And then experiencing life without it. So for me, that's life without the internet. Life for a few weeks without social media, without email. In some cases, stepping back from even watching videos on the computer, but now I'm slowly starting to do that. It's really gone from entertaining myself, and I'll admit I've wasted hours upon hours entertaining myself with what's on YouTube. You know, there is an expression, don't get high on your own supply, and I don't mean to compare YouTube to an absolute drug, but elements of the internet can function like that. But when you step back from the internet, we can look a little closer at our own inner mind distractions. And I started talking about this stuff when I first went off the grid in Costilla County in 2012. And it's the idea of, and I don't mean to make this about off-grid living, but keeping this more so on the point of the YouTube content creator, but it is part of my story. You know, I went off the grid for the first time, stepping back from technology and the internet for the first time for more than a few weeks, a few months in some occasions, but in that occasion, just a few weeks. And it was all about facing those inner weaknesses without blaming other people for our problems. Being in a meditative state for people that do subscribe to the idea of centering our focus. And I do think that this is central to being successful on the internet. Being disciplined in our focus, almost like a martial arts strike or a defensive move or something to that effect. You know, it's interesting because to me, martial arts isn't about violence, the practice of it. It's about a healthy mind, body, and spirit, a healthy field through healthy body movements that have a positive impact on the overall physical health. On that note, for someone like myself, you know, the amount of research I do and taking it seriously, not just something I talk about it, the effects of unnatural electromagnetic influences. And I said in a recent video, you know, there may be certain places where we may want to live, right? But there may be smart meters there or other technologies that we may have for some reason, potentially a negative adverse reaction to that officially today science doesn't recognize. It might recognize, there might be a few studies on the effects of some of these technologies on the growth of tumors. But I would say for someone like myself, it's not so much about that, but stepping back from a bombardment of energy that distracts me from what is most important. Okay, so let's get back some of the personal solutions that I think that I'm addressing. At least I'm still in the middle of it. And I'm going to be reconnecting my internet at the end of the month. It's not connected. I'm still in the process of detoxing from or stepping back from being stimulated consciously in any way, shape, or form from the internet. And from being able to upload videos instantaneously. And having to go to drive to the library in town to actually upload the videos. So I'm not only stepping back from taking in a bunch of new information and headlines, although I have some things downloaded that I may talk about soon as I work my way back to regular videos, at the very least daily. But it's like I'm stepping back from that overstimulation, because that's the point that I'm trying to get to. It too is an electromagnetic field. When we're interacting with our computer, how many hours we're on the computer, how many hours we're working on the computer, how many hours we're watching YouTube, as opposed to being exposed to natural magnetic fields. And I know what it's like to be addicted to cigarettes. I'm about 2 to 3 months off cigarettes at the moment, one of my longer stretches. I know what it's like to be addicted to silly, entertaining videos on YouTube, even as much as I know about some of this stuff. Have I always practiced what I preach? No, that's why I take this very seriously. It's because the internet is a very powerful thing. I call it a flaming sword. And when we're grabbing a blade, you don't want to grab the blade at the end, especially when it's flaming, and cut your damn hand off, like some sort of laser beam technology. You want to grab at the handle. And the internet has this funny way. I mean, we've only had it around for so long, but to create a virtual reality for ourselves. Now, that could be a positive thing, right? If in this alternative reality or whatever, and say YouTube's a part of this alternative construct, but it's a place where people share ideas that can improve people's lives. There's also, and I'm not trying to put down any gamers, but I'm not a fan of it, people that live in these simulated worlds to where they're just killing things all the time, 24/7. And that is something that I don't understand. And I could go on potentially for hours as to what's really the plan behind this. But that's not the point of this video. And I want to keep this positive. On that note, right, being aware of all the negativity in the world doesn't really necessarily promote a mindset that wants to work to create better change. It's like, what's the purpose? Why don't we all just off ourselves? That's not what we want. But I'll tell you what, I think that that's what they want us to do to ourselves and others. I believe that we live in a world where the powers that be actually want us to off ourselves. Sometimes you'll even see people that are possessed say, kill yourself. And we do live in a nihilist world where that's rearing its ugly head. And it's distressing to those of us that want to affect the world for the better place to see on YouTube all the darkness and hatred, pure hatred that humans, I guess they're humans, hiding behind their little acronyms and handles, what they do to other humans for sport, especially those that are trying to discuss issues that matter to them, that matter to other people, things with spiritual nature, things that regard awakening to higher consciousness. I've also given some thought to my own behavior. Have I ever pointed the finger at some people that perhaps, like, what was the even point of even going there? And I could say yes. In the witch hunt to fish out the fake spiritualists, right? We may say things that perhaps we don't really need to. Let's just focus on the principles, not go out attack people. It can bring bad luck. It could be bad karmically. I think I've seen that. We want to talk about the principles that we want to steer away from when we look at the fake spirituality. We're not going to get anywhere else or hire ourselves by putting someone else down. And I see some people have whole channels that are dedicated to all the different people they feel need to be attacked. And they're in like I could see internet influence when people are addicted playing on those already present sociopathic tendencies that are pre-existing in many human beings, just waiting to be activated by those that are weak spiritually. You understand? Those that are awake spiritually, that are all of a sudden just jumping into the internet, it can bring out their deepest, darkest elements of their personalities. And that could be shocking to some of us that have dedicated our lives to trying to awaken people to certain ideas. We find ourselves under attack. Then at the same time, I realize that it's not just me that faces that type of, what I call it, archonic consciousness, likes to sneer its ugly grin at someone that creates content or shares an idea. I see men and women that aren't even controversial that just share content on YouTube. Sometimes channels about just improving your channel. That's it. Just positivity and believing in yourself to create a channel with content that people love, in which you're contributing to their lives, to quote Tim from Video Creators. And it's like, I see how even people like him and others that are straight positivity and others more spirituality, they come under attack. And they're not messing with anyone. They're not messing with anyone. And so the reality is just because there are dark forces on the internet and on YouTube and even trying to smear those of us that are YouTube creators. You know, there's stereotypes about YouTube content creators. I'm not going to tell you, one person said to me earlier in the week, but it wasn't very favorable. It was like, oh, YouTube, huh? Don't be like that lady. Don't be like that lady. I went to the YouTube headquarters and pop, pop, pop. And I'm like, what? Someone really just said this. And I'm processing this and it's like, let it go and move on. But what I would say is, it is unfortunate, my lady, that we are now in a day and age at the philosopher, even sharing knowledge that has been around for thousands of years, because somebody might be put into the box of YouTuber, right? That they could be marginalized a certain way because someone just doesn't know that the world has changed. And not everybody is down with elements of the new paradigm. And I don't want to sound like the others. But I was thinking earlier, and I was hearing something about old paradigm, new paradigm. And yes, I think that there is. To a certain degree, I just see like the same species doing the same things over and over and over. But at times, it seems like the energy is supportive of new paradigms. It's a time to act. It's time to speak. It's time to write. It's time to flow with that creativity. Solar max or solar minimum, just go with it. And the new paradigm. We are in a I want to say monstrous new paradigm in which, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, we have access to technologies that your ancestors and my ancestors didn't have, whether we're talking about 50 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago. I don't even know how far back we can go. What I can tell you is this is really happening. Now, normally, I'll record a video and upload it the next day when I have the internet here. This is going to be uploaded a few days from now. But the bottom line is this technology of a message being shared around the world, it's actually still in its infancy. Bitcoin is an expression of it, whether we like it or not. Other constructs are expressions of it. Not all artificial constructs should be viewed as negative. So we deal with this world of constructs and creation, and mankind is capable of that when you're at this level of transferring an idea that is bulletproof, an idea that staying armies cannot hold down. Well, of course, we're going to have interference energies on the internet in and of itself. Another distraction is just the sea of disinformation, an anarchy of information. At one point, I thought that was slander against the internet. Now I realize that person was right on, even if we have different understandings of the world. And I consider myself someone that is outside the left-right paradigm. Most of our society seems firmly coming from a left perspective and a right perspective. And there are some of you that watch this channel that appreciate the fact that I've stayed out of, for the entirety of my lifetime on YouTube, endorsing anyone that's been... like my endorsement of Ron Paul, I think, was based on idealism. I think in the world that we're in today, I don't think that we're going to see that type of even unity amongst people again. I really don't know what direction our society is going in. I'd like to be hopeful, but I'd like my positivity that I bring to this channel. And the conversation about having hope and not being in despair, it's not going to revolve around politics. I can't fathom a situation where I'm dedicating my channel to somebody else or some other man's campaign or some other dude. I can't imagine this channel being a soapbox to promote some other man's concepts or ideas. I think it is the responsibility of every man to know his own truth, to express his own truth. I believe there is an element of manhood that comes from that. And I think that some of our popular, Vox Populi, understandings of what a man is are a little bit perverted. They're a little bit perverted. I think a more conscious society, their values, things are relative. That's true. Things are relative. Society has a way of looking at things and placing different values on things during particular periods in time. It has its ups and its downs. It goes back and forth. But I think a more conscious society would value people that dedicate themselves in some way, shape, or form to sharing ideas. And right now, Art Bell called it the quickening. So those of you that have been listening to Art Bell for a number of years, and I think that we have been in a quickening, maybe not exactly like he was talking about, but clearly including that. I don't think that we're at the, look, people have their own astrological interpretations. I don't see a global enlightenment at the end of this yellow brick road. Nor do I want to see the outbreak of World War III. But I think that things are going to get harder before they get easier. And I think that our lives are a little bit more complicated, or it's a little bit beyond just simply looking at the future and seeing just total destruction and then this liberation. I think probably the more accurate, most of you might agree, that we're in a slow state of decay and collapse. Some people say that we're already in a mass extinction level. Realities are going on all around us as we move into total high-tech tyranny worldwide, as we're divided and people are fighting over politics in the streets. We can even see how people's relationships and friendships have gone from the real world to social media, to seeing how social media has limited our posts to where now even our online friendships have been adulterated, have been warped, have been censored out of existence. You see, let me go over that again. First, they got us to move a lot of our friendships into the internet domain and our energy and our Facebook posts, and then they changed the algorithm because of problems that they created, problem, reaction, solution. And so people that have been living these online realities, and some of us really depended on reaching you through the internet specifically, not cable television, not through some other service, but through social media platforms on the internet. People have become accustomed to being updated when we post new content. Artificial intelligence. Now, as artificial intelligence gradually acts like it's erasing us on the internet and making us irrelevant, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And somebody has to be really motivated to keep going and not just go, you know what, I'm going to go back and do something else. How can I make some fast money, some quick money? How can I do this for that? Or how can I change my channel? See, I saw this coming with this AdSets crunch, Adpocalypse, that people would start doing more desperate things to take advantage of people on the internet through their snake oil salesman tactics. Okay. I'm acting like it's a New Year's, and I don't believe in putting out bad energy. So, I'm not calling out people by name. But, we see them come and go. Taking advantage of a headline, taking advantage of a crisis, making it worse than it actually is. So the energy could be directed at what it is that they're saying, and then they redirect to something overpriced at their website while putting out false information about their intentions. And while we may not agree on a lot of things, I'm just sharing my own truth, there's a lot of disingenuous individuals that are out there. And as I've been noticing increasingly in recent years, some people love being lied to, wherever they are on the field politically. And so for those of us that comment on current political events, social events, upheavals, we find ourselves at odds with sometimes members of our own audience if we don't choose left or right. It reminds me of Miyagi from the original Karate Kid. Walk left, right, left side of road, safe. Walk right side of road, safe. Walk in the middle, squish. Get ran over by a car, just like a grape. But, it doesn't feel good to be run over or to be dodging traffic, right? But if you're going to be independent and commenting on social peoples and politics and going to go outside the box and just blaming all Republicans, just going outside the box, just blaming all leftists in the cities, but just really talking about brass tacks, what's going on with these people, our people, what's going on with people in our society, what's going on with us internally in this matrix that we're in. How do we empower ourselves? How do we have hope? How do we grow spiritually in a world where we can look almost, you can even say, in the abyss of water and see these disasters? We have so many people that are becoming apocalypse minded or aware. You said, I don't like NPR, but I was studying what type of controlled opposition propaganda they were putting out by listening to their business cycle or news cycle. And it's like, hi, and today on Fresh Air, we're with such and such author, and such author has written a book on, or written a song about his views of the apocalypse. That's so cute. Tell us about your little album. And it's just like, I have fairy tales, dun, 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 of red sky, dun, dun, just like, okay, so people like myself and others are to be laughed at and scorned for our decade plus of activism, trying to raise like the alarm and an awareness, including spiritual ideas regarding what's going on in reality. But now things have become so mainstream, right, that they can make space for one of their friends to create a little album about the apocalypse. Oh, that's so cute. But it's like, for years we've been mocked. So I'm telling you folks, to be a media personality is complicated. There are people that appreciate us for what we do, and there are people that dedicate a lot of their time to stopping us from what we're doing or to distract us from what we're doing. And sometimes it's not anyone personally, it's like the Matrix itself, to encourage us to keep our mouths shut, to be silent about the things and people that matter. Just go along to get along, just chase money and chase sex and chase physical things. And so for me, it's actually a much deeper experience to do the YouTube off-grid thing. Deeper than what some people might realize, because it's not easy. It is financially easier to go out and make a certain amount of money as a dishwasher. The payback is 10 to 1. I'm telling you right now, I'm under $99. I'm at $99 per month in YouTube AdSense. And I want to find a conclusion to this. I'm going to edit this, get back in the process of that, make a goal of doing daily videos. And instead of having a negative view of what's going on, I'm going to have a positive view of what's going on. And I'm going to turn this around, bringing this full circle. So I've been going through this for a while, and I saw the need to disconnect myself from the internet and all stimulus and just deal with that sense of loneliness and poverty as it is, go back to work somewhere, do the fast food thing, also ended up getting a ticket. So a lot of my earnings are going to go to this ticket. I realize ultimately, whether I like it or not, my life has benefited ultimately primarily through one personal life activity and maintenance. More so than my bank account, more so than my health in some circumstances. It's been my YouTube channel. And while YouTube still does exist, and while YouTube still has a way to bring value into people's lives, as people are inspired spiritually to maybe better themselves and empower themselves, then I will put everything 110% into this. I still have my on-demand channel where I'm putting out bonus content, but I've needed to take a break to boost up my energy and to contemplate those things that help us prevent burnout and keep a healthy flow of energy in our body. Stepping back from certain things. I talked about stepping back from nicotine addiction. I've talked about stepping back from sugar and soda. I've talked about stepping back from being in fantasy land, about traveling to different places, and realize this is where I work so hard to be. This is where I am at the moment. And I'm not religious, but I believe that I didn't do this alone. So thy will, not mine, be done. And that's how I would regard the overall living situation. The fact that I live off the grid in Colorado and there are wildfires within hours of here that are thousands of acres that have hundreds of firefighters as I speak fighting them. This way of life isn't a life with guarantees. I have an unfair strike on my channel by simply highlighting a person calling for someone else to be harmed based on their political beliefs. In a world where a lot of people think only conservatives are punished, certainly YouTube chose to punish me specifically because I just simply highlighted, right, who it was and made a stand against it. And I realize, right, that we can cry, and I've said this before, about free speech violations on YouTube, but it's not our platform. It's their platform. It's a corporate platform. We shouldn't be surprised. We should still be grateful for being on this platform, and we should tell our fans, supporters, people that really support what we do. It's hot here in this air-conditioned free studio without a window open, in this little 1 acre space that I'm working out of, in a 10 by 12 shed. People need to know where our platforms are. I'll be working on my website when I come back to the internet. Instead of watching videos that entertain me, instead of making videos where I'm criticizing necessarily somebody else, I'll be working on my own websites, writing more, doing more outside of YouTube. Remember, YouTube is a tool. We're not YouTubers. For those of us that are involved online and doing more than YouTube, especially people that have written things or blogged or written articles or contributed news or information in some other way. Right? So we can't be put into this little box, YouTuber. Here are these YouTubers, and here's what YouTubers believe, and here are the values of YouTubers. It isn't that simple, but they try to make it simple to mainstream Americans. YouTube is one of many arsenals that we use to connect with others, but it's not the only tool. So it's good to step back from YouTube. Let's not get high on our own supply, as if the expression goes, and realize that YouTube is a very addictive thing. And so we can use it to share information. We shouldn't let it or anything on the internet or anyone on the internet, especially those that we're trying to help, use us. So this is something that I can come back to on a regular basis. I think this is something that has more to do with self-healing, self-help, motivation than anything conspiratorial. And people from different walks of life could probably benefit from some of these concepts. If you have a special request, I have been thinking about a modern human psychology series from my perspective, the real nature of modern psychology and maybe some of the root causes. Like the whole idea of Freudism is based on one person, for example, his own interpretations. I think some things are open to interpretation. Your interpretation, my interpretation, and I think there might even be some common ground where you and I believe on certain things. The comment section has clearly reflected that. So I think that we need to go deeper. Let's go beyond left, right, infighting, response, angry, back and forth, drama, boo-hoo-hoo. Let's look more at modern psychology. And they are trying to socially engineer us to operate with certain personalities like rats in a cage. And we should talk about some of the programs that they're implementing, as well as ways in which we prevent those programs from working on us. I'm Alex Ansary signing off, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.